Hey, welcome to Project Recovery. This is a bonus edition. I am Casey Scott. That's Dr. Matt Woolley. Why are we doing a bonus edition?
Because we got bonus material. We got the bonus guys.
That's right. We've got just some great resources for those who are looking to help their family, their kids, their loved ones with kind of the mental health crisis that is upon us. I remember 2 years ago, Dr. Matt, you said mental health will be the next pandemic.
Yeah, and I think that unfortunately that's true. I wish I'd have been wrong. And it wasn't just my prediction. That's what we've been dealing with around the whole country. And what I love about what these guys are going to come in and talk about today is how to help people navigate that, like especially focused on our youth. We're going through a lot of youth-based mental health problems around the country currently, coming out of the pandemic and things that are happening in schools, and parents, teachers, other people, coaches that are working with kids, they need resources. And so that's what we're going to talk about today.
And when it comes to coaches and people working with kids, we always bring in our good friend, Rob Eastman. How are you doing, buddy?
And I'm so grateful to be here. I'm good. I love hanging out with you guys. So thanks for having me back.
And we just did a podcast with the guy next to you. His name is Bryan Hedin. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm great.
So you guys have teamed up to form this resource, and it's all about mental health and our youth, and you guys are calling it the Village Effect.
Yeah. So anybody that knows me knows I've been in the mental health world for a while, but I've also been in the schools coaching and kind of swapped over from adult addiction recovery stuff to the prevention piece. And when I did that, I found that I could make a big difference in these kids, but then they would go back home and be reindoctrinated with the bad habits, or there was just a lot of pieces to the puzzles not happening. So I really jumped headfirst into it. And as Matt can say for himself, like we are overwhelmed with clients, and it needed to get back. I just kept feeling like there's got to be some resources. There's got to be resources. I can only do so much. And then talking with Bry and his brother Jameson, it's like they've been in the adult world for so long. Jameson went to school, certified therapist. Bry went into the house, inpatient rehab. I went into the schools and was on the street, ground, getting it done. And then I'm seeing all these young kids committing suicide. All these families drowning, not knowing what to do. Therapists are out a year. What can we do? So we started talking, and it's like we've learned so much in our own recovery. We've seen so much in our own travels through work and everything else. We know a ton of people, and we have a ton of resources. But when you're struggling, when you're drowning, and you Google mental health or rehab, 10,000 things come up. How do you know what's the right thing? So we felt like we could get into the houses, get into the families, and share some of these resources, get to know their needs, and help get them to where it is, whether that's working with us directly, or if that's a program somewhere in the state, or if that's a coach down the street, whatever it is. We need to get back to that village, raising the kid. Like parents, in this day and age, both parents have to be working. It's expensive.
Yeah.
So therefore, kids have more time. Blame the technology. They don't have anything else to do. They're doing school online. They're doing, games are online.
Socializing online.
If the parents can't afford playing sports, there's no camps, there's no nothing. So what are they supposed to do? And everybody's just trying to juggle these pieces while our communities are struggling.
So, Bryan, tell me about Lake Effect. Where do you see it helping? No, Village Effect. I almost had it.
Yeah, well, we normally talk about drinking and alcohol, and Lake Effect happens to be a bar. So.
Yeah, but what is Village Effect?
So Village Effect is literally tapping into the village of professionals and non-professionals and community and outlets that can help raise the youth of today.
What kind of professionals are you looking for? What kind of professionals do you have? I mean, when you say professionals, in what arena? In all aspects of life?
Well, primarily in aspects of medical. So plugging them into nurse practitioners, doctors that are invested and passionate about mental health and responsible as far as prescribing. So medically, clinically, so plugging them in ideally to clinicians and social workers that are in recovery. So they've lived an adolescent life like we have, that maybe if they had some support, maybe if we had some specific type of support that we were we trusted and were comfortable with at the age of from 12 to 18. Maybe we would have talked about different things. Maybe we would have chosen some different things. Maybe it would have been attractive to maybe walk down some different paths. So we want to cover medical, clinical, spiritual, physical, in all areas, but we want all of these referral sources that we know and can tap into talking to each other about the same family. And so we're not referring to go talk to this practitioner here, and then they'd go do that, and it sort of goes okay, and then it's okay, let's go try this therapist 20 miles over here, and they kind of like him because therapy's good for everybody, and that kind of burns off. And I think families are kind of piecemealing or a la carting mental health, where I think mental health is treated with a team that's working together. And so village effect is, it takes a village, right? In quotations, is we're kind of going off of that and really tapping into all of these amazing people ready to help. I mean, working in the adult field for over a decade, there's like this army of really healthy adults that want to help. And for me, it got to a point personally where it's like, recovery is amazing. I've got my life back. I've watched hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of others get their lives back too. But then when you start to educate yourself on what the youth are going through, celebrating recovery for adults just changed a little bit. It's like, man,
what if we can stop them before they have to get there?
There's this really loud cry for help over here when we're doing great over here now, but like, what are we going to do about this over here?
You're
now?
Speaking my language, because in my graduate training, it was almost exclusively adults until my last year. And in my last year of training, I ended up doing 1 day a week working with young kids, and I didn't want to do it. I sort of got stuck with it, but I had a great supervisor, and in talking with her, she helped me see, like, it's great to work with adults in various ways. And I wasn't necessarily doing much therapy back in those days. I was working with adults in other capacities. But she's like, I love working with kids because they're in development. They're developing the person, the adult that they're going to become. And and she said, if you think of it like a vector, we want to get to a healthy spot. But what if little tweaks and changes get those kids off a healthy trajectory? As professionals, we can maybe bring them back. So with little tweaks and changes, we can get these kids back on a healthy trajectory so their vector heads to that healthy adult place. And I think that's what you're talking about. That's what I like about working with kids. I work with a lot of youth, so older children, teens, and young adults. And people are still in that. I love working in that developmental time period because we can take something that's a small issue that definitely can become a big problem. But if we can help get them back on track, that's very, very satisfying from a professional's point of view. But you said something interesting before we were on the air. You guys are talking about consulting, like helping people find the right fit. And I think that's hard. Tell us about how you do that.
So I think we trust the people that we've met over the years. I think trying to fit for me, if I'm referring somewhere, I'm trying to fit personalities to personalities, likes to likes, and maybe some background to background, and personal stories to hopefully relate to other personal stories. So consulting with a family, I don't like the word consulting because I don't like, I don't see myself as business, but I am.
But I hear that. But you know what? It is a healthy consultation. You're getting to know them.
Conversation.
Right? Yeah.
Getting to know the family. We want to really get to know the family and what they like and what are their interests and where do they go and why do they go there. And then maybe we have I think we will have some outlets that we've just met some amazing people.
You brought up the family, and Rob, you can take this one because I've been fortunate enough to hear you speak. And during your speech, sometimes you'll stop and say, hey, look, not all dads are good at everything. And not all moms are good at everything. There's certain things that we're good at, and there's certain things that we're not good at. But that doesn't necessarily benefit the kid.
Yeah. I think a lot of us, like I was saying before, a lot of people try and wear every single hat, which really pulls from the kid's development. So I do what I do well, right? I focus on my fitness. I focus on my youth. I focus on my psychology. I don't clean my house. There's certain things I just don't do. I don't mow my lawn because the time it would take me to do that and build some bitterness, I can make way more money doing what I love. So if a stay-at-home mom is feeling resentful that she doesn't get to chase her dreams being a businesswoman, she would be better off going and being a businesswoman and coming home and having passion to her kids and allowing somebody that really wants to teach her kids something to teach them. As a coach, I can do more for your kid than you can in that setting because you get to be the dad. They get to come home and tell you something that they did today. You're not the one barking at them for doing something wrong.
I love it.
Yeah. Sometimes I talk to people about that as like recognizing the dual roles that you're playing in your life. If you're playing a dual role with your kid, for example, if you're trying to be the tutor and the parent, if you're trying to be the tutor, the parent, and the coach, you're going to fail at least one of those. And I've said what you're saying, especially in the tutoring arena. I get at the University of Utah, I get the chance to work with the kids of a lot of really smart, well-educated folks. And one of the complaints I'll hear a lot is they're like, I know math better than their high school teachers. Why won't he sit and do his math with me? And we talk about the fact that that's a dual role. It's not working. If you can, wouldn't you just like to have a good relationship with your kid? It's worth the money to pay the tutor so that they can engage with them. And so I think that's what you're saying is helping parents identify their kids' needs and where to go to get them met instead of trying to meet them all themselves.
Yeah, and I think if parents see that as they're failing or they're not a good parent if they refer them out. That's just not the case at all.
No.
And then what he was talking about earlier, too, with the therapy, you get one bad therapist or you didn't like the event, therapy doesn't work.
Right.
And they throw it to the wind.
Hear that a lot.
So if we can eliminate some of those things and kind of ease in and find what's necessary from day one, saved money and a better experience.
So what you're saying is you guys have years of experience in the community. You know a lot of people. Okay. But your process is you get to know the kids and the family, the parents, and then as you go through your process of getting to know them, you're able to match them better with the people in the community that can help meet their needs. Is that basically what now you've got me saying lake
Village effect.
Village effect does, right?
There you go. Because,
yeah.
we know people that younger guys that are, 30 to 35 years old, 25 years old, that are LCSWs. They're master's level therapists that love to rock climb. So if you come across a 15-year-old that absolutely loves to go rock climbing,
right,
that might be a pretty good resource to plug him into and introduce him to.
I think age, so I'll say this. I had a little bit of resentment towards one of my graduate trainers because he used to like to say the phrase, the art of therapy. And at that point in my career as a graduate student, I was like, I don't want there to be art in therapy. I want there to be science in therapy. I want to know what works. I don't want to be one of those fruity guys with a ponytail that's just telling you everything's okay. That's not the kind of therapist I'm going to be. So don't tell me there's art in therapy. Guess what? There's absolutely art in therapy. You need science and you need effective treatments. But what you also need is a good match. And sometimes somebody will come in and meet with me and I'll say, you know what? This person should be working with a female therapist. Mm-hmm. Or now that I'm 50, sometimes I'm like, I was the right therapist for this kid 10, 15 years ago, but I'm probably not anymore. They do need somebody who's 35 years old, right? And so finding that right fit creates the art. It creates the connection that a lot of kids need. Adults can overcome that a little bit more, right? Like an adult who's serious about they don't necessarily have to connect. I mean, it helps still, but they don't have to have necessarily that same interpersonal connection. But you think about a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 20-year-old, there's more art in connecting with them. And so I appreciate the fact that you guys do this. And in reverse, I've done this with Rob because I know I've sent some people to work with him who as soon as I met, I'm like, that person needs to work. They're going to fit with Rob.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah, and that's what it's about. It's a consulting and referral, source that hopefully our hope is we have this amazing culture that we found as adults from the treatment center that we went through that is real, and it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of us literally that are still super tight, and we stick together, and it's this really healthy network. It's like, man, we have to try to build this with the youth, and if we can get them connecting and tethered on a mental health language, recovery language, hope and healing level, and be a part of it and do it with them at a home base, and like let's give it a crack, because if we feel like we can, and if that materializes, I think we're going to help a lot of people.
So, Rob, if people wanted more about Village Effect and all the things that you can do, how do they find you? What do they do?
Right now, the best outlet would be to either find me on Instagram at Tattooed Life Coach and the number 8, or we're about a week away from our website going up. But yeah, reaching out to me or Bryan and really getting involved. It's the culture of like bullying or being the cool kid and not crying and all that. We want to make being vulnerable the new superpower, taking action on your mental health the new cool thing, including people, connection, and just all around kindness, man. It's being in those hallways. It's so sad to see those kids want to be so included. And even the ones that are bullying, they're doing it to look cool to be included in that group. It's like, we got to get rid of all of that, strip it down. Everybody has struggles. Everybody has fears. Share them. That will connect you right there with half the room, and then come up with a solution. And we're trying to be part of that initial solution to make it okay for everybody to feel, but not okay to do nothing about it. We want people to take action.
I like it, yeah.
And we do have a blueprint website that works. It's functional. It's not pretty, but it's going to be. It's villageeffectut.com.
Okay.
You can get on there and send a message. It'll come to me, and then we can go from there.
So if a parent's listening to this and they think, things are just not as good as they could be in our family, I think my kids are struggling, I don't really know where to go, what to do, that would be an appropriate person to reach out. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other part is we would love to see this happen before crisis.
Right.
It's so much easier when they've just started to taste the darkness. If they're just having a bad day once in a while, that's way better than if they need rehab or they need medication. Like, that's what athletics and coaching and therapy, it's like people think that's only for the bad time. It's like that's the stuff that will keep you going good and have less bad time.
I had that conversation with somebody literally this morning about her significant other, who she is trying to let him understand that you don't have to be broken to go get help. Like that's the old way of thinking. That's what I call, excuse me, physicians, I call it the medical model. Everybody calls it the medical model, and it works in medicine. That's great. Mm-hmm. You don't go in and get your leg set unless it's broken, right? I mean, that makes sense. But that it doesn't work in mental health. Like waiting until you've had a crisis, boy, that's silly, And if we understand that coming in, getting some help, getting some consultation, taking advantage of the village of people that we live around. Man, we're so lucky in Utah. We have so many great people and great resources in Utah. We really do. And guess what? A lot of them just go unused until there's a crisis. So I'm with you 100% on that. Let's have a different model.
I love it. So go check it out. It's villageeffectut.com. Get a message to them, and I can't wait to see what you guys do, and I would love to have you guys come back.
Deal. Love you guys. Thank you very much.
All right, you're listening to Project Recovery. This has been a bonus edition right here on KSL.
The Contents of this program are for informational purposes only. The program is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, licensed therapist, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've heard on this program. KSL does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, physicians, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned on the program. Reliance on any information provided on the program is solely at your own risk.